Hello, my name is Nell, and I have things to say about disability, chronic illness, and mental health. I live with all of these things, as do many other people, and in my videos on my channel I talk about them partly to connect with other people who experience them and live with them and let them know that they're not going through this alone, but also to reach out to people who don't live with these things and to hopefully give them an insight into the lives of people who do. If that sounds like something that interests you, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. Come back every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time when I upload new videos. Chat with me in the comments, let me know what you think and what you'd like to hear from me in the future. And share these videos. In these videos I am trying to explain things in a way that people would understand, especially if they don't experience it. So if you know of somebody who isn't understanding something that you might be going through, but you hear me explaining it in a way that could be understandable, please share it. Also, I get really excited whenever I get new subscribers. I am really passionate about this. I'm saying things that I believe need to be said. I have so many things to say. I have so many experiences to share that I want to turn into good things. So many difficult experiences to share that I want to turn into good things. So anytime somebody subscribes and watches my videos, I get so excited because somebody is listening. So if you're watching my videos and you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. I would love it because then I know that you're watching. I know that you're there. Today I want to talk about a discussion I had with my local Big W about why they didn't have a wheelchair accessible changing rooms. And my quick fix that kind of blew their minds and showed that sometimes you should really talk to the people whose needs you're trying to meet. Because we have ideas. My local Big W has been around for a couple of decades. It's never had a wheelchair accessible changing room. Now, a lot of stores don't. I have recently done a video about the difficulty of shopping when you are in a wheelchair because a lot of stores do not have wheelchair accessible changing rooms. In a lot of places it's understandable because space is limited, but Big W is huge. There is so much space. Another thing with our local Big W is that it's been renovated multiple times. They've moved things around. It's not a static place. It has been changed. It has been redone. I recently heard that they'd done some more renovations, some more moving around, and I thought maybe this time they've given the wheelchair using community some space to change. So I went to the store and I got some things and I went to the change room and I said, "Hello, I would like to try these on. Where is your wheelchair accessible changing room?" And they looked at each other and they said, "Oh boy, we've got this." They opened this little door and there was this little room and I wheeled my wheelchair into this little room and I couldn't move my legs off my wheelchair because there was a wall, and my worker couldn't get into the room because there were just walls. I couldn't move, I couldn't try anything on, and I said, "This is not wheelchair accessible changing room. Just because you can literally fit a wheelchair into a room does not make it wheelchair accessible. That does not count." I said to them, I thought that since you'd done more renovations, more shifting around, maybe this time I'd been thought of, but I guess not. And I said to them, "I want to show you something. Can I show you something?" I took them down to the end of their changing room aisle and I showed them, you've got two changing rooms facing each other, each with their curtains there. I said, if you put a curtain rod and a curtain across and open those two changing rooms up as one, you have a wheelchair accessible changing room with room for me to change and with room for my support worker to get in here. You have a wheelchair accessible changing room right in front of you. All you need is a curtain rod and a curtain. And they looked kind of stunned. I'm like, wow. Never would have thought of that. I'm like, it's because you don't have to live with these impairments, making do everywhere you go. And I said, look, I might write this on a feedback form, send it in. And one of them said, let's get the store manager down. She can speak to the store manager. Tell the store manager yourself. So, okay, good plan. So they were calling the store manager down, and in the meantime I said, well, I would like to try this out. I would like to get changed. So we pulled the two curtains from these two changing rooms together and pinned them together with pegs, and I got changed in there. It was very ramshackle, but it worked, and it showed that it could work. So the store manager came down. They didn't tell the store manager anything about what I was going to say. So I said, hello. Lovely things that you've done with the clothing section. I had hoped that with more renovations, maybe you would have put in a wheelchair accessible changing room by now. And they said, oh, well, I mean, we're working on it. It's been in the pipeline for a couple of years. You know, it can be difficult to make those plans, and it's really tricky, and, you know, it's hard to do, but we haven't forgotten you, and you know, we're just thinking of you. And I said, okay, well, it takes time, yes, but how much of that time and that committee meeting time has been spent organizing the half dozen other renovations that have happened in the last half dozen years? Feels like this particular issue is going to be put on the back burner constantly. And I said to him, I want to show you something. So I took him into the changing rooms, and I pointed up and I said, curtain rod, curtain. Showed him how I pulled the things together. And he just went, huh. Never would have thought of that. I said, that's because you never would have had to. I wonder if there's anyone who uses a wheelchair on their committee who's actually gone into the store and tried to test out theories, who actually makes it a priority rather than just something you go, well, I don't know, we don't really see many people in wheelchairs here, so we won't worry about it. It was such an interesting experience. They said that they were going to follow up on it, and I'm going to follow up. I'm going to contact this place and see how they're going. But it was such an interesting thing. They had just not thought of that. And it was like, oh yeah, we'll get around to it. But what we really need to do is change around the entire clothing section. That's a priority. And even changing around some things in the home decor section. And people are like, man, I hated what they did there because now I can't find anything. I'm thinking, why are they spending time and money and committee decision-making time doing things that people don't want when there's an actual need to be met? And it's like, oh yeah, we'll take a few years. He even said this place was built, 25 years ago, so, the standards were different. Yeah. I'm enjoying speaking up. I enjoy speaking up. I enjoy just saying to people, why isn't this happening? Also, this is an idea. You can ask me anytime. Anytime. You can invite me onto a committee. Anytime. You can invite people with disabilities onto your committees for deciding things about disabilities. We have good ideas because we have to, because nobody else is thinking of those ideas for us. Ask us. I hope that changes are made. And if not, I will just keep going in there, and maybe I'll just start stripping off in the middle of the store. Just being like, well, if there was a change room, then, things would be different, but we'll see. That's all I had for this one. Let me know if there's been any situations where you've spoken up. Whether it was a good answer or a bad answer, I want to hear about it. Alright, that's all for this one. Bless.